Hello everybody, welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to start chapter 10. In this chapter, we're going to talk about how AI can help with academic writing, publishing, and presentations. And we divide this chapter into 4 sections. The first section is about the drafting process that AI can help with. The second section is about referencing and publishing process that AI can help with. This process is very tedious and very detailed oriented. Many students probably fail to pay attention to this process, but it's very important in academic writing and publishing process. And the section 3, it's about AI-assisted presentations and visuals. We want to note how AI can help the presentations and visual effects. Academic presentation is a part of academia life. We cannot get away from presentations, and students do group presentation. Business people do business presentations all the time. In this section 10.3, we will learn about how AI can help the presentations and visual effects that they can help with. And the last one is looking back and to know that the trends and directions that AI can help with managing presentation, publishing process, particularly with the social media presence. Because nowadays, even researchers kind of put their research in the social media, trying to help with the media, social media presence, so their research can be known and be more cited by more people. So we would like to know how AI can help with these trends and directions. And the section 1 is about the drafting process that AI can help with. The drafting process means that when we finish data collection, now we need to start writing it up. We have a findings, we have results, so what do we do next? We write it up, but this writing process, it's very challenging. Even for native speakers in English, you write up English papers. Even for native speakers, you may be good at talking, but you may not be good at in writing. Writing is different things than talking. Therefore, this writing process to begin with, it's very challenging. So we want to know how academic researchers start with their drafting process and illustrate like roles AI can play to help with this drafting process. And again, we want people to pay attention to certain things and issues when we use generative AI to help with the drafting process. Students now submit assignments with pretty much all AI writing. You can detect it quite easily. We need to pay attention to some issues. If we use generative AI to help with the writing, there are many potentially ethical issues involved. So here we need to be seriously about this process now. Traditionally, after data collected and analyzed it, we have data findings, we have results, and therefore we begin to write it up and report the results before we send out for different purposes. For thesis students or doctoral students, we need to write up theses or dissertations, and the writing begins after the data collection. It is very enormous challenges, particularly for non-native speakers. We are talking about in English. And for non-native English speakers, it's very challenging because how to write it up in English, it's challenging. Even for native speakers, it's also challenging because writing is different from talking. And therefore, the concept of writer's block also applies to researchers, even experienced researchers. Sometimes your brain just like empty. You don't know where to begin the sentence or the paragraph or the first draft. Therefore, it's a very time-consuming process. Why it's particularly challenging? Because when we write, it's not like you just write your diary or you just write your everyday life or you just write about yourself. That's a very specific, serious topic, and this topic has a serious purpose, academic purpose, and it will be read by experts in the field. how do we convince them and intrigue those readers from the beginning, from the outset? And it also involves, serious knowledge. How do you know that we can convince them with a substantial literature review and maybe some sort of theoretical framework and discussions? Because people who read your papers or your research typically are experts in the field. We need to convince them you have done your job really reasonably, in a really nice way, if it provides something new to the field. Otherwise, why would they need to read your papers or your thesis? And we need to know the mathematical requirements, whether they are met with any kind of data analytical data collection requirements, because this process, methodological requirement, it's the most technical area. The technical areas typically will be criticized the most seriously. Experts can know, okay, if you have done your job correctly or nicely or not, just by looking at your data analysis. And therefore, how to write it up, how to report it. There are different requirements needed, and therefore we need to know that how we write it up in a way satisfying those requirements, and then eventually we can provide some sort of insights in the end in a very reasonable, logical, compelling way to tell people that yes, we have done our job, we have new things that you need to read out of papers because we have met all the requirements needed. How do you write it up here? It sounds easy, but it's very challenging to do. Particularly the first sentence, the first paragraph, the first time to sit down and write about it, it's probably from scratch, empty space. Therefore, we need to know how can we get it done. This challenge process can be helped by AI tools at this stage. AI can potentially help with drafting different purposes because different purposes for different outlets require different things. If you write up for a thesis or write your papers for a journal paper or book chapter or a conference or a grant proposal, they require different things. They need different background info. AI can help with this drafting process. It can play different roles, mainly 3 different roles in this process. AI can be a brainstorming partner. It could be an initial text generator, or it can be a refinement tool. And this roles can help with our drafting process, help with the writing substantially. To begin with the first one, AI can be a good brainstorming partner, which means that we don't use AI to substitute writing, but we can use AI to juggle some ideas. The brainstorming, how to write it up, maybe refine your ideas, maybe explore different alternatives. Maybe you can do it this way, with different writing style. Maybe AI can help with different structures. How do you want to organize your paper with the different sections, different headings? Then we can use AI to kind of refine those ideas. In order to do that, and we need to interact with AI, make sure the information that we provide to the AI models and criteria provided to it is as contextual, as specific, as precise as possible. Because every research purpose, every writing has different outlets. What are you writing for? It's very important. So how AI can juggle ideas and maybe help us to brainstorm how to do it will depends on the context, which means the purpose and the specific domain that we are writing it up for. We need to respond, talk to the AI in particular detail and prompt AI to generate ideas for us in as much contextual, as specific, as precise as possible. And again, AI tends to use their training data. They don't disagree with users' input ideas much. If you say, what do you think we do this research idea? AI tend to agree with it. AI doesn't want to confront the researchers or users' idea. So this is the attention we need to pay to. We need to kind of critically challenging AI's idea. And if I say, okay, can I do this research in green management? AI will say, oh, it's a good idea because da 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 da, but actually it doesn't provide critical feedback. Therefore, it is okay. What about the other ones? And you need to keep talking to it to make sure that it doesn't just agree with what you do and go easy way out. The second role AI can play is the initial text generator. After we have done the brainstorming with the AI, AI can help with, say, the initial draft, the structure in the paper. It can have the outlines. If you want to do a thesis, typically every university has different format for the thesis structure, different requirement for different elements. Therefore, AI probably can look into that and suggest a structured outlines for a thesis. Or if you're writing for a paper for research grant for different agencies, AI can help with the structuring the outlines for different purposes too. It can provide suggestions for different chapter breakdown. In your thesis, maybe the first chapter should be introduction, the second chapter should be this and that. So it can break down in specific logical sequence and detail. So we can follow the sequence a little bit more organized way. AI can also have the session headings. You can also provide, if you are writing for a journal paper, different journals have different requirements for different headings, and they have a different referencing styles. Maybe AI can also provide suggestions for that. Again, AI typically tend to agree with researchers and users' idea, and it tends to provide suggestions based on generic data training. Therefore, we need to interact with it as precisely, as contextually as possible, which means that we need to tell AI what kind of research we're doing, what kind of suggestions are more appropriate, more fitting to our research context. If you are doing medical research versus engineering research versus business research, they require different things. Even among business research, there's different disciplines, different areas. The way they talked about data, the way they talked about terminologies, the way they talked about theories could be very different. So the requirements will be different. Therefore, users or researchers will need to pay attention to how AI generate their suggestions. The third role the AI can play is the refinement tool. As a refinement tool, AI can work in several ways. Like we have structures after we have done brainstorming and then maybe outline your draft, and now we can fine tuning. Can start filling the text and writing it up, and even the draft is finished, AI can fine tune it. Fine-tuning means refine it, and maybe there's some gaps that maybe you did not really think about it. Maybe some ideas you haven't considered. AI probably can look into a broader background and in the literature and try to fill the gaps for us. And maybe there's some area that if we put more examples to it and provide different scenarios for it, it makes it more compelling. And maybe AI can provide those examples as well. So as a refinement tool, AI can help us kind of fine-tuning our paper, polish our research work, and make it more nicely done. Again, we need to pay attention to the AI-generated content. Again, it's based on pattern and statistics, based on prior historical research and data training. They don't really understand research. They don't really understand users' research or your research and what's the requirement for your particular field. Therefore, we need to be able to talk to it in a really critical way. Don't just take every suggestion made by AI, or don't just use AI to write it up for you. It's your paper, it's your research, it's your voice that needs to come out. If students always use AI tool to write up the assignments, you can tell this is written by AI because it makes no sense at all. It's like the robot is talking to you. It's all the same, it's more similar. It doesn't mean much to this field, to your research questions. And therefore, we need to pay attention to that. We need to make sure that it is your research in the end. Your voice needs to come out. So overall, we need to pay attention to all the things when we use AI tools. It can substantially help with our research process, reducing time, but it should not replace critical thinking, creativity, and our expertise. We need to pay attention to the originality. Do they use the same idea all the time with the AI tools? We also need to pay attention to accuracy. Do they conform to our domain knowledge? Do they meet our methodological requirements? Do they make sense of our fields? The contextuality means do they have a specific idea that is relevant to the field? The relevance is more important than generic suggestions. And also integrity is very important, because if you repeatedly using AI suggestions, some of the suggestions may involve the academic integrity issues, like maybe there's a potential plagiarism issues that we need to be careful about. So that's all for this session. Thank you for listening.